This documentary note specifically is as memory recovers quickly with the left side aligning properly. So 5 years ago was when I was leading up to the eviction from my home, the unlawful eviction from my home. And previous to that, this woman had picked me up in Vermont. She came from Vermont, and I can't make new visual memories, so I don't remember what she looks like. I think her name was Nancy. But regardless, she brought me from my house to Vermont, and then I had to walk away from the house because she wouldn't listen. And I was there with my wheelchair in a quad cane, and she had given me this tea, and I realized at some point, I think after 6 days I had been there, um, that she wasn't cooperating with what I was communicating, that the priority was Tristan, and there was an upcoming family court hearing, and I had to get back to the house to make sure that I was there for August 18th. And so when I was in Vermont 6 years ago this summer, it was in preparation of things where I was under attack with misuse of family court. And this was prior to that investigator becoming involved, who then targeted the trust account that I made her aware of. But the entries about what this woman in Vermont was doing, I look back on it as memory comes, and I can't say specifically without visual memory, but what I remember with clarity is there was something in the tea she was giving me in the morning. I realized that after several days, but I knew intuitively that I had to play a role that I didn't know, and I was able to on some level. With the body being half paralyzed, and at that time he's still in shock daily, like not quite this aware, but I was fully aware of what my condition was and had been since 2019. And I was at a place where I knew I had to play a role and tell people I didn't know what it was to see what they would actually do. So I didn't know what this woman was putting in my tea, but it was something that was beneficial. It wasn't something negative. It was just I was accelerating. The communication between me and her was about my plans with the recovery and a homeopathic approach, where I was talking tremendously about Farm to Fork Academy, the plan with my property, the plan with Tristan, that teaching him self-care from scratch in the Epiphany of Scratch 2020 is what we talked about for those several days that I was there. So I've heard others now talk this theoretical thing that she was giving me ayahuasca or peyote or something, and I can't remember having any visual trips like that. And I mean, I did hallucinogens as a teenager, so I know it's about taking mushrooms and acid. So if there was something like that that I was unfamiliar with, I can't emphasize enough how beneficial it was as I look back on it now. The conversation that we had was about how it takes 5 years for brain cells to develop, and it was about newborns because Tristan was only a couple years old at home, and my focus was the parallel development of him overall and the injured part of my mind, only a year off as far as age went. So it was based on the science of developing neurological pathways and the actual building of brain cells. That's what we talked about a lot. I was just pouring the encyclopedia that I was aware of and what my goal was. So whatever she gave me, thank you, Nancy. You were kind of grumpy and a weirdo, but boy, I can't thank you enough. And I hope someday you get to see something like this from the Miraculous TBI recovery you've been a positive part of.